was but a boy of 12, living in a perfect bubble where the world outside was a mystery, not yet fully understood. My father and I would retreat each summer to a cottage, once owned by our grandparents. It was a quaint red wooden house, built by hand, perched atop a hill, surrounded by fields, strawberries, apple trees, and a tranquil lake nestled at the base of the hill. There were no neighbors, no sounds of the city, just the quiet pulse of nature. It was a place where I felt energized, focused, almost one with the earth itself. Every summer, I eagerly awaited the holidays, for it meant one thing: fishing at this magical retreat. Once, I even skipped school, took a train from the city, and spent a whole week alone at the cabin. I purposely bypassed the supermarket, forcing myself to fish for my meals, forage for mushrooms in the forest. Of course, I allowed myself the indulgence of picking a few apples and strawberries from the garden. One of the finest meals I've ever had was prepared by 12-year-old me. Smoked perch, served with chanterelles. As the final days of my stay approached, I decided to pack my things the night before, ensuring I would be ready to leave at dawn. But before I could call it a night, I made my way to the lake for one last fishing session. I recall sitting on a weathered rock, gazing out at the water. There was no wind, only a heavy fog that swept across the surface. The sun was sinking low, and a deep sense of peace enveloped me. In the distance, across the lake, I noticed 2 deer. They were watching me intently, unblinking. I felt a sense of acceptance, as though the land itself was saying farewell to me. Just as suddenly, the deer became spooked, vanishing into the fog. I took out my binoculars, hoping to catch a glimpse of them on the other side, but the mist had swallowed them whole. I lowered the binoculars, feeling a few raindrops fall on my hand, and decided it was time to reel in my line and pack up. Then, a strange sound pierced the stillness, a haunting whistle from the far side of the lake. I raised my binoculars again, and this time, I saw something truly bizarre. A rickety rowboat emerging from the reeds, drifting toward me. Someone was rowing, slowly and steadily. The rain began to fall more heavily, and the once serene evening was now thick with fog. The air grew heavy with an unsettling energy, and visibility shrank to mere feet. I focused on the lake, straining to make out what was happening. There, through the mist, the boat came closer. An elderly woman, her face obscured by a tattered hood, was rowing toward me. My breath caught in my throat, and though I wanted to speak, no words would come. Fear had rendered me mute. The woman guided the boat to shore, stepping slowly into the shallow water. The hem of her long, dark robe soaked up the water as she waded toward me. I could do nothing but stare, mesmerized by this faceless figure. As she drew closer, an oppressive weight settled on my chest, a pressure I couldn't explain. I saw a faint glimpse of her face beneath the hood. Her mouth twisted into an unsettling smile. She clapped her hands above her head 3 times, and in a low, rasping voice, she whispered, 33. Then she asked me my name. I gasped for air, struggling to speak. I'm Edward, I stuttered. The next few moments were a stillness I couldn't comprehend. The woman, unbothered by the silence, whistled the same eerie melody I'd heard before. Gathering my courage, I finally asked, "Who are you?" Her reply sent a chill down my spine. "1 has no name. 2 is for shame. 3 will set you free." She paused, then added, "You have been gifted with knowledge no mortal should bear." With that, she raised her hands to the sky and clapped again, 3 times, whispering, 33. And in the blink of an eye, she was gone. My mind struggled to grasp the enormity of what had just occurred. I ran back to the cabin, locked the door behind me, changed into dry clothes, and crawled into bed, trembling with fear. I lay there, haunted by the encounter, unable to shake the image of that strange woman from my mind. The next morning, I left for the train station with little more than a hollow feeling in my chest. On the crowded train, I tried to recall the woman's face, but it was as though it had vanished from my memory. I could no longer form a single image of her. I pushed the entire incident deep into my mind, shoving it into a dark corner reserved for the most disturbing secrets. Years passed. I grew older, moved into my 20s, and lived life to its fullest, partying, drinking, chasing after women. But along the way, I fell into a darker path, succumbing to illegal substances and letting my career slip through my fingers. My girlfriend stayed by my side through it all, despite my promises to quit. After a dozen relapses, though, she had had enough. She was ready to leave. But fate, cruel as it is, had another plan. She was diagnosed with lung cancer and passed away at just 29. I was devastated. Grief consumed me, and I sank into a deep despair, barely clinging to life. Somehow, I managed to pull myself together, though it was a slow, agonizing process. At 32, I found a new job, regained some semblance of stability, and began to rebuild my life. Desiring a break from the chaos, I decided to return to the summer cottage, to fish, to relax, to reconnect with the peace I'd once known. While packing my gear, I was struck by a sudden flashback, an eerie whisper in the back of my mind. 33. I shook my head, trying to dismiss it, but as I drove the familiar journey to the cottage, a strange feeling of déjà vu washed over me. I texted my foster mother, taking a quick trip to the best place on earth, as we always called it. Her response was immediate. "Happy 33rd birthday, love."